The P card can be used for small value purchases of supplies, materials, equipment, or services, where not otherwise prohibited or restricted. All purchases must be within cardholder assigned spending limits unless prior written approval is received to exceed these limits using the special approval request form. Some allowable purchases are equipment of single units under $5,000, supplies and materials up to the cardholder's approved single transaction limit and or approved cycle limit, single purchase of supplies and materials over $5,000, airline tickets and vehicle rentals for city personnel traveling on official city business as defined in the travel policy, food and lodging for economic development, special events, and training activities when on official city business, as long as documentation follows guidelines for meals in the city travel policy, food for official approved use on the city premises, ergo dog food for police dogs, coffee, etc., food provided for consumption at events or services provided to the general public and or city program participants other than city employees, or purchased for resale in gift shops, bookstores, and other non-employee meal-related use. Also allowed are purchases of goods or services intended for official city work-related use, which are not otherwise excluded in the prohibited purchases section, and any purchase specifically authorized by the city manager. Some helpful things to remember about purchases when using the P card. First, the use of the P card does not forego the need to adhere to other purchasing rules. For example, all purchases over $2,500 must still be backed by at least 3 written quotes. Second, Georgia sales tax is not to be paid on any transaction. Inform the merchant that your purchase is exempt from sales tax. Most merchants accept the procurement card as significant evidence of exemption, but all P card users should keep either the tax exemption card or the tax exemption form on their persons when using the card. Third, never split a transaction to avoid the transaction limit or the daily limit. The following types of purchases are strictly prohibited by city policy. No exceptions will be granted unless otherwise indicated. Personal purchases of any kind. Personal purchases are defined as purchases of goods or services intended for non-work related use or use other than official city business. Cash advances, including use of the card or card number at automated teller machines, inside bank branches, or at cash advance, quasi-cash, and money transfer locations such as Western Union or Telecheck. Gift cards, stored value cards, calling cards, prepaid cards, or similar products except when approved in advance by the city manager. Entertainment, including in-room movies, except as specifically covered under allowable purchases. Alcoholic beverages, except when approved in advance by the city manager, such as for economic development or special event activities. Tobacco products, and professional services as defined in OCGA 14-7-2, subsection 2. If a dispute should arise between the cardholder and a merchant over a transaction involving the P card, there are several things to be remembered. First of all, always try to resolve the issue directly with the merchant. Communication is always the best first course of action. Only when you cannot reach an agreement with the merchant should a transaction be formally disputed. Remember that transactions can be disputed in works, but you must dispute the transaction before you sign off on the transaction. The finance director grants authority to forego standard procurement requirements for needs arising from unforeseen causes. In cases involving emergency situations, as defined in the purchasing policy, the cardholders are allowed to obtain after-the-fact approval for exceptions to this policy. The cardholder must submit the special approval request form to notify the City Card's program manager within 72 hours of any actions taken in response to these emergencies and the nature of the actions taken. Documentation for transactions must follow guidelines for emergency purchases as contained in the purchasing policy, including use of the emergency justification form available in the SPD Official Forms section of the City Entity Resources on the shared drive. A sole source purchase is a purchase of a commodity or a service that is non-competitive in price because there is only one source for the commodity or service. The P-card may be used for purchases resulting from sole source acquisitions, provided those goods or services are not identified in the Prohibited Purchases subsection. Guidelines for sole source purchases are found in the purchasing policy.